Hey everybody, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by criticizing current players. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Stacy, and today I'm only joined by one of my fellow Castaway Consultants, Derek Kubicek, here live in person. Josh Wessler is traveling this week and is unavailable to participate. He did not get to watch the episode. He's somewhere.
And as far as I understand it, he's planning on watching the episode, but there's a time zone thing going on.
Yeah.
So just by nature of the beast, he's not here tonight. We're cutting this episode out of his paycheck.
Yep.
He will receive absolutely no Jam coins.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep. He will not be allowed to ride on the Jam tram.
No Jam tram, no fire tokens, no peanut butter.
But we were talking about the 9th episode of Survivor 44 tonight, Under the Wing of a Dragon.
That's a cool name for a title.
Yes, it is. And it's a cool episode.
It is a cool episode.
This was fun.
This felt, again, like Survivor. I've got a few nitpicks that are related to things that we have griped on this podcast about plenty already. But for the most part, it was fun just to try and figure out what these people are going to do. Again, imagine that being the most interesting thing and the most fun thing about Survivor, Ryan.
We have, one person wins immunity, 8 different targets, and we got a lot of names thrown out. Oh my gosh, it's almost like that's how Survivor's supposed to be played. So it was a fun episode. I liked it a lot. A couple nitpicky things, but yeah, fun episode.
Yeah, I think just a general thought, my favorite part about this episode is there are plenty of places this season could still go. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to see which multiverse we're in.
Yep.
Are we in the Tika-verse? Are we in the Soka-verse? Are we in the Ratu-verse? I feel like we're no longer in the Ratu-verse, but let's get into it a little bit.
Yeah. So spoiler alert.
3, 2, 1. I probably gave away the farm a little bit there for a second.
That's all right.
But we're losing Kane tonight.
Yeah, we're losing Kane tonight. And if 4 people get votes tonight, that's unusual and that's fun.
Yeah, 4 out of 9.
Yeah, 4 out of 8 possible people.
I suppose.
So half of the eligible people got votes. That's fun.
That's worse.
So ready to get going here?
Let's get through it.
All right. So coming back from Tribal Council, Lauren still mistakenly thinks she's in control of the game. It was just a fluke idol play last time that took out Brandon. She's totally good. She definitely won't waste her extra vote in this episode.
It goes to what I think I said last week specifically. We all had a feeling, but Jam and Carson were aware that the idol play was going on Franny. And so in order to stay under the radar with Ratu, they made sure to vote with Ratu. Ultimately, the target that they wanted to go home in Brandon was the one going home, but now they've got cover. They've got disguise. As Jam said, I have no blood on my hands.
Yep. They're being sneaky, like everyone else in the game.
Everyone's sneaky.
Everyone is sneaky. So Ratu totally thinks that at least Jam and Carson and maybe Carolyn are with them, so they think they're all good. They're not.
Record scratch. They aren't.
So Danny and Kane go looking for the idols, separately. I really like Danny's strategy here, and this is, eventually people are going to catch on to what he's doing, but he goes and checks 5 trees and then gets a bundle of firewood and brings it back. And basically the idea is, you just hold off on people knowing what you're doing for a little bit longer. Oh, you're just getting firewood. And eventually everyone figures it out, and then there's a mad idol hunt. But I really like Danny's plan, especially, this is a good early days plan. If you're going to look for the idol, bring back firewood. It'll at least stall people from, and maybe you'll find the idol in that time, but it'll at least buy you some time. But Heidi is the one who's going to find the idol. Then we get just a whole segment, between commercial breaks, one whole block of the episode is literally just Carolyn bonding with her tribe, talking about her addiction and how she's been sober for 13 years, I think she says, and just a whole block of everyone hanging out with Carolyn. And it's a really nice moment.
It's a great moment. It's a good return to the edit. I think we've gone away from Carolyn to the point where last week I had put her on my Carolyn can no longer win the game. I am not going to tease whether or not she is still on that short list for me. But it was nice to see her return to the edit in a positive way and with the most important aspect of the game, which is the social game. So welcome back, Carolyn.
Yeah. We're going to go right into the immunity challenge. And basically this is where Jeff is be like, hey, if 4 of you sit out of the challenge, I will give you some rice. And we've done this in all of these 4 new seasons of Survivor. I'm tired of it. I think this should be retired for a little bit. And bring it out if you have a really bad weather season, like Cambodia, I think is the main example. You got, I want to say it was the final 10, and they got 8 of the 10 to sit out of the challenge. And it was just a showdown between Joey Amazing and rest in peace Keith Nail. That was a really fun mano-a-mano challenge. But so yes, if 4 people sit out of the challenge, they will get rice.
I'm pretty tired of it. I think it needs to take a break. I would much rather have us do a Survivor auction style thing. I was actually hoping when they were talking about negotiating and prices and stuff, I was hoping we were going to get a surprise return to the auction that had been halfway teased in the Jeff Probst On Fire podcast, which is turning into a little bit of a SEAL Team David Boreanaz thing where when Jeff is talking about his own podcast, he'll say On Fire with Jeff Probst. Well, we all know who you are, Jeff.
Unfortunately, we all know who you are.
So just like it's getting a little old hearing Jeff say On Fire with Jeff Probst, it's getting a little old negotiating for rice. And Danny actually said something pretty hilarious in a confessional. You can survive 30 days without food, which is the number one complaint that I've had about 26 Days of Survivor is you can theoretically not eat and not die.
Yep. You'll be fine. It'll suck, but...
And, I mean, you won't be like, fine, but...
You'll be fine.
You know, with minimal food, you'll be okay.
Look, I can go 30 minutes without eating. You can go 30 days. That's fine.
It's the same thing.
And what's really interesting to me is Danny's super vocally opposed to people sitting out for rice. And he wants, like, he's trying to talk everyone into, like, not sitting out for rice. And I'm like, Danny, let him sit out for rice. It increases your odds of winning the challenge, and you might get rice. Why do you care so much?
Yeah, it's kind of a meatheaded thing to say.
Yeah.
And the meathead people are basically gone now. He's kind of the only one left.
Yes.
And maybe that makes him feel like a bit of a fish out of water, or he needs to feel like, aha, I guess I have to embrace being the target of some frustrations or the target of some animosity if I'm ever going to build up enough notoriety to win now. I've got my idol play. It's time to be front and center, and I will win my way to the end. I don't know.
So at the challenge, Lauren, Carson, Kane, and Heidi all agree to sit out. It is promised like, hey, we won't vote for the sit outs. Not true. Kane's going home. Now,
he knows.
Yeah. And Kane never bought that for a second. Kane said, like, I have no chance of winning this challenge, which is fair. I would honestly consider sitting out of this challenge because I don't think I would have any chance of winning this one.
More context for people who maybe just be tuning in, but Ryan's got a messed up foot.
Yep.
And it doesn't really matter which foot that you're using to balance on. The other foot is putting pressure on it for long periods of time. So this is probably one that Ryan would happily sit out of.
Yeah, balance is not my thing, especially when you have to focus on just like one foot because I have a bunch of metal plates in my ankle.
Right. Gotta love those golf carts.
Yeah, don't ever drop a golf cart on your leg.
Yeah,
it's not fun.
Never. That said, I need to admonish Kane a little bit because we heard Franny say in this episode, I didn't think that I was going to be able to win any of these, and she's won too.
It's true.
Kane, you can surprise yourself, and if you feel like you might be in danger, you need to try. And I think that all of Ratu needs to be on their toes.
Lauren, I don't get why the heck she didn't compete in this one. Kane, I can understand he does not have the body type for this challenge.
It makes more sense for Kane to sit out, but that said, you're at a point in the game where there's a lot up in the air, and it's $1 million mistake to not try, I think.
I don't agree. I think with any, like, you can look at a challenge and know you can't do it. I don't think Kane had any chance in the world of winning this challenge, so I don't think this was $1 million mistake.
It's not egregious. I'm just saying I wish he would have tried for his sake.
Generally, let's say it was burgers instead of rice. Absolutely go for the burgers because that'll at least give you some stamina going forward. Maybe you can win the next challenge. But, it doesn't matter. He wasn't going to win.
And not to overstate the importance of food, but we had several people say we felt like new people after we got the food. Maybe if they don't get the rice, they don't figure out how to split the votes correctly, and then Kane doesn't go home. So it's a lot of little things, but it's getting nitpicky. And these are the things that I was talking about at the beginning of the episode. For the most part, good stuff, but this is one thing. Hey, if I'm in the game, I don't care if I suck at balancing on one foot. If I think I might be in danger, I'm competing.
Right.
And I'll go hungry, boys.
Franny ends up winning immunity, so she is safe. We're going to go back to the beach, and we're going to get a lot of madcap strategy here. Soko wants Kane out. I'm not really sure why they pick Kane of the three. Obviously Ratu's got the extra vote, and they believe Jamie's idol is real. Everyone here thinks Jamie has an idol. It's not real, but nobody knows that.
Can I play small devil's advocate for a second here? Maybe Soko wants Kane out because they see that Kane has fairly strong ties to Carson.
Maybe.
And I'm also going to read between the lines a little bit. Maybe people aren't actually that socially threatened by Danny.
I don't think they are that socially threatened by Danny.
So if you're going to target someone on Ratu, target someone who has ties, the strongest ties to Tika, who are kind of playing in the middle. And by the way, what we didn't mention is there are a few people who are very very strongly aware that Tika is successfully playing the middle right now, but everyone is vaguely aware that Tika finds themselves in the middle, but both sides think they're on their side. So I'm gonna make a declaration now that Danny is not in a very good social position, and it's evidenced by Soka targeting Kane. And we got the whole Carolyn, like, why do people think Kane is a threat? Maybe it's because Kane has ties to your tribe.
Yeah, Kane's a likable guy.
Yeah.
But their plan is to try and get Jamie to flush that idol.
Not a bad plan.
No, not a bad plan at all.
Flush hardware.
And maybe get Lauren to flush her extra vote, too, because that's the reason to target Ratu right now, is because they have the hardware that everyone knows about.
Yeah.
So Carson goes to Jamie and it's like, hey, they're coming for you, with the implication, like, hey, you should play your idol. And they're like, oh, we'll talk about how we can avoid this. We'll split the votes. It'll be great. And they come up with a plan to split the votes between Danny and Heidi. Obviously, Franny has immunity, and they're going to use Lauren's extra vote, probably because they don't think they can trust Carolyn. But here's where it gets fun. In case of Knowledge is Power, which is not in the game and hasn't been all season, I don't think.
It might have been a possibility on Mystery Adventure Island.
Maybe.
It might have been Matt's possibility.
Could have been.
Something similar.
Let's never do it again, please.
But please, leave it alone.
So look, we do the old switcheroo, which really screwed some people over last season. It's going to happen again, kind of. Lauren is going to give Jamie the extra vote. Jamie's going to give Kane her idol.
Yes,
in quotations.
Her very much real idol. One fake idol. It was so lovely labeled as in the episode. I love it.
We get a great confessional. Jamie talking about how happy she is. She still has her idol. And they pop up the lower third with Jamie, one fake idol. So good. I'll just be bummed that we'll never get that. That won't get played.
This just feels like a really comical Dungeons and Dragons inventory list. Like, what have you got? I don't know, some confetti.
One fake idol. And some seeds. Don't know why, but I got some seeds.
Some seeds.
Don't know what I don't know what they grow into, but I got some seeds. So this is where Franny suggests, hey, why don't we work with Ratu to take out Tika? We could split the vote between like Jam and Carolyn. And Danny doesn't want to do that because he's like, hey, we should focus on the advantages that Ratu has. I agree with Danny that Ratu is the primary concern at this moment, because you got to remember, obviously Tika is getting the stronger edit, but that's not how the players are seeing that. So it's not like, it's not so clear cut that Jam and Carson and Carolyn are the big personalities of the season. Everyone is on the same playing field for them. So Danny wants to focus on the advantages, but Franny wants to be like, hey, they are playing both sides. They're both right, but I think next time, in the next episode, they need to focus on getting out a TK member. I think a TK member should go next. So I think Danny was right in focusing on Ratu this time, but I think Franny should take charge next time.
Yeah, I think I generally agree. I also don't necessarily like how quickly it got shut down. I'm glad that Franny didn't push the issue, but I don't think that Franny pushing an issue with any of her Soka members matters, because if anything is become clear this season, original tribes matter.
Yes, big time.
The forced mutiny meant absolutely nothing.
Yep.
The one worlding, I mean, we've seen people become friends, but allegiances have not shifted one iota.
No.
And it's one of the reasons that I think that I'm so endeared to this cast is they're almost within this production nonsense playing a fairly old school game of Survivor as much as they can.
Well, I've heard interviews that all of the madness kind of forces players to play more conservatively because they're so scared.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, I know you listen to the podcast. Chill.
I saw an analysis from a former player. The name escapes me, but this week in Survivor meta, but this is still evergreen. They were saying the best strategy in modern Survivor is to lay low and hope that you get lucky.
Yeah. I don't remember. I think I saw that too. I don't remember who said it. But yeah, I think right now the best strategy you can have is just be a fun person to hang out with, work on the social game, and cross your fingers.
Yeah, because if you try and do anything too flashy, you'll immediately get your head lopped off because everyone else is like, hey, we're just trying to survive the game. You're trying to build a resume.
Bye.
Thanks for making it easy for us. Bye.
Yep. The social game is more important than ever. And I think we've seen that, especially last season with Gabler and then in 41 with Erica. If people like you, you'll win.
But to get back to your question, I agree that you need to at least pull some kind of maneuver to get Ratu to burn their hardware.
Yep.
The smartest move is just to go buy tribe split, target Ratu, get them to burn their hardware, take out one more Ratu. But then I also agree with your next step, Ryan, and it was my next step too. Got to look at Tika now.
Yep.
The spotlight has to be on them, assuming tonight goes as Soka plans.
You got to look out for hardware, like number one, and then look for Tight Alliances group number two. I think generally in this era of Survivor, I think that's what you got to go for. With the exception being if there's someone who clearly cannot win the game and they have like an idol or something, then I think you can worry about it a little bit less, because if you're never going to vote them out, then it doesn't really matter too much.
Well, and what you try to do is get them to feel isolated so that there's nobody they're willing to play their idol on or to use. Like, you don't want them to use their advantage against you at that point. Right. So it's not necessarily saving themselves. It's self-preservation. So it's still a good idea to get hardware out of the game because it can end up cutting you.
So it comes down to Tika. What do they want to do? Jam Jam wants Kane out because Kane voted for him. I don't love that for Jam Jam. Let it go, dude. I mean, yes, I can understand wanting to take Kane out at some point because of that. Shouldn't be your primary reason for voting somebody out.
I think this is the way that he's selling it. I almost feel like Jam Jam is selling the story of, you write my name down, you're going home, and he's going to come back. Let's say he makes the final three. This will be his big through line. You vote for Jam Jam, you go home. You vote for Jam Jam, you go home. It's been the same story since the start of the merge. Yeah, Tika was a hot mess in the pre-merge, but oh boy, did we come out flames all over the place afterward. So I think that's what he's doing. But again, we have to look at the three people on Raw 2 that he can target. Are you saying that maybe he should be looking at someone like Jamie?
Not necessarily.
And by the way, this is more evidence to me saying that I don't know that Danny's actually that big of a threat to win this game.
Yeah. How well liked is Danny?
Yeah. And I think
he definitely rubbed Carolyn the wrong way.
Well, and I think that a lot of these people feel the same as Jam Jam, and that's why Kane got targeted tonight.
Could be.
So I'm going to trust the player, but on screen, I agree, this is kind of a silly reason to target someone. Unless they're targeting you that night, yes. That is different. Like, you need to kind of let water under the bridge be water under the bridge.
Yeah, you can use people who voted for you before. Yeah, absolutely, and you should.
And you should also distrust them.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean target them.
Yeah, you don't trust anybody. Use people.
Yes.
Carolyn wants Danny out because she still holds a grudge from that Mystery Adventure Island trip where he and Brandon kind of ignored her. Again, not a great reason to target someone unless like he's still refusing to work with you, which doesn't seem to be the case.
And I want to go back to something that I said that episode. I actually really like this for Carolyn, and she should have forced the issue because Danny doesn't respect her game. If she takes charge of the vote where he goes home,
sure.
Then if she makes it to the end, she can say, Danny, you didn't respect my game. I sent you home. And that might even be enough for Brandon to be like, oh, yeah, well, that's right. We did tell you to your face we don't respect your game. So for Carolyn, I like the focus on Danny. If it wasn't tonight, I hope that she drives a Danny vote sometime in the future.
Tika should probably take out Danny next, and Carolyn should probably drive that vote. That's probably their next best move.
I mean, I would say Tika should probably take out Franny next.
Okay, yeah, you know what? Actually, you're right.
Yeah.
Franny and Danny got to go, though.
Yeah, so Franny first, but Carolyn specifically needs to get Danny out.
So it's a big, confusing mess. A lot of options. We're not 100% sure where it's going to go, which you'll love to see on Survivor.
Love it.
We're going to go to Tribal Council, and, they're going to try and, pretend this is a live tribal. And there is some paranoia and whispering, primarily from Jamie and Carolyn, who are
surprise
paranoid players. Don't let Jeff fool you. Live tribals almost never happen. Even the ones that they try and oh, look, they're all getting up and whispering. That means nothing. Tribal Council is theater unless some big bombshell is dropped. And even then, it might not change anything. But unless something huge is revealed or somebody screws up royally, we're not getting a live tribal. Don't buy into this. You'll have a couple of paranoid people who will try and stir things up. It's not happening. This is all theater. No, don't buy into the live tribal narrative. Yeah. It's almost never a thing.
Yeah, this is why you need to have a plan A, plan B, plan C. The only big thing I think that truly can move a vote at tribal is someone revealing hardware that nobody knew about.
Yeah.
Or, that shifts it from primary plan to backup plan, or maybe it was, public enemy number one, and now it's crap. Well, if it's not public enemy number one, I don't want it to be me. That can turn it into a live tribal. But for something like this, where everyone says, oh yeah, Jamie has an idol. Oh yeah, Lauren has an extra vote. The legitimacy of Jamie's idol is not on trial here, but if it was, it wouldn't matter. It's a moot point. The jury nullification doesn't matter. There's nothing that these people weren't already aware of. So live tribal, like Brian said, I think this one was all for show.
Yep. Jamie or Carolyn might have been trying to turn it into a live tribal, and that's what happens when you have really paranoid players. They might try and stir something up, but generally it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But Jamie's going to play the extra vote, Lauren's extra vote. It's going to be a crazy vote. All right, so follow along with us here. I had to record I recorded the vote reveal afterwards on my phone just to make sure I got this. But it's gonna be 5 votes for Kane, 3 for Heidi, 1 for Jamie, 1 for Danny. Let's go through these. So Kane, Lauren, and Jamie, they were doing the split. So Kane voted for 1 vote for Danny, Lauren and Jamie times 2. That is 3 votes for Heidi. They were splitting between Soka. Franny voted for Jamie. Probably is like just in case of an idol or shot in the dark.
This feels like shot in the dark insurance. Like those are those little flyaway votes, and I also don't buy that Franny wasn't in on the plan.
100% was in on the plan. And then Danny, Heidi, Jam, Carson, and Carolyn, they all voted for Kane. 5 votes for Kane. Kane goes home. Dungeons and Dragons, his character was killed off.
Sad day.
There's no honor amongst thieves.
On the Dungeons and Dragons. Don't give them free marketing, Ryan.
That was a really good movie.
It was a fun movie.
I really like the movie. I will give them free marketing.
I want to see it. But the Dungeons and Dragons man is gone, and the Dungeons and Dragons themed season, I'm sad.
And, let me check here, because I think Kane said during the episode he had not successfully voted anyone off yet.
That is correct.
So I want to make sure that we're gonna fact check Kane here and make sure that's true. So he voted for Brandon. Vote was nullified by an idol. Then he voted for Jam in the mergatory vote. Didn't happen. He voted for Franny. Idol played.
Didn't happen.
Voted for Danny. Didn't happen. So yeah, Kane made it pretty far into the game. Successfully voted out nobody. That's funny.
Yeah, he had as many successful votes as Matt. Maybe that's why they got him mixed up.
Oh my god, that's funny. So the question is, was Kane the right person to go home here?
And if I can start, through the course of talking on this podcast and really digesting this episode, I think yes. And ultimately, I'm trusting that Soka and Tika aren't completely inept at threat analysis. They can see that Kane is the more strategic, and Soka can see that he has ties to Carson. And maybe Danny's not as well liked as some of the others, so if you're going to pick out a target, maybe pick the one who has that tie. Maybe pick the one who's better socially. Maybe they were scared that Danny did find that idol and Heidi truly kept it a secret.
Sure.
So plenty of reasons, I think, to target Kane for the most number of people, as well as the primary goal, flushing the hardware, which they achieved.
Yep.
So I'm going to say that this was totally successful for the most number of people and ultimately is the right move.
Yeah, I almost think it doesn't matter who went home as long as it was one of the Ratu 3 and the hardware was flushed.
I agree.
Extra vote, gone. Jamie's idol, even though it was fake, went out of the game with Kane. So that's gone. So and nobody knows that was a fake idol. As far as they are concerned, it was a real idol. It's out of the game. So we have Jamie and Lauren with no power, and Kane is gone. I think this is about as good as you could hope for from Tika and Soka.
Which, hilariously enough, Twitter disagrees in, again, one of the biggest lopsided votes. This has been happening the last 3 weeks, but the last 2 weeks they agreed with us.
And they disagree this time, huh?
74% of people said that this was not the right person to go home.
I wonder if people don't like Danny.
Maybe that's, you know what, they're probably rooting for Carolyn. Twitter is very much team. I'm team Carolyn. Don't get me wrong.
I love Carolyn.
I mean, like my top 3 to win what I want personally right now: Franny, Carolyn, Jam, Carson, in that order. I am fine with any of those 4 winning.
I think that's my order too.
But Twitter is very much standing for Carolyn. I understand she's kind of like built for Twitter, or Tumblr, or some. She's built for some social media platform. I'm not sure what it is.
I'll say Jam second, Carolyn third for me.
Sure,
I'm rooting for Franny. I'd love to see. I want Franny to get the guy and the money.
Yes,
that's what I want to see happen.
Both of them.
Slay Queen,
clean sweep.
That'd be great. So I'm rooting for Franny to win this thing. Huh. So Twitter's wrong.
We disagree with Twitter, which is not an uncommon occurrence on this podcast.
Let's get in best and worst player of the episode. Yeah. I'll kick us off with best. Speaking of Franny, I'm going to give mine to Franny. I think the two in conversation, like the 2 big ones I think you could talk about are Franny and Heidi, because they both weakened Ratu, which, you can give that to anyone on Soka, anyone on Tika. They weakened Ratu, which is their primary goal. Great. Franny won immunity. Heidi found the idol. I think the reason I'm going to give Franny more is because she's the one who vocally said, hey, Tika's playing both sides. We have evidence that Franny sees that and that Tika needs to be dealt with shortly, but didn't push too hard for that to happen this time and focused on making sure Ratu got split up. So I'm going to give my best to Franny. Yeah,
I had an honorable mention to Franny for every reason that you already mentioned, so I don't need to touch on those again. I gave mine to Jam.
Okay.
And it's mostly because I think that people aren't talking about Tika. enough, at least in the edit, and Jam Jam got his way. He gets to continue his through line, potential winning discussion at the end where if you vote for me, you go home. You stepped in front of the Jam Jam tram and you got flattened. So I gave it to Jam Jam, but Heidi is someone I probably should have written down for an honorable mention, but I am just endeared to Franny, and I have a very clear bias.
Yes. I have a worst player.
For worst, I had Danny, but it was just because he shut down all talk of Tika being in the middle a little bit too quickly. And then also, I feel like this is the episode that sort of proves that his social game isn't up to snuff and he's not considered to be that big of a threat.
I can see that. I ended up going with Jamie. So Jamie and Lauren were on the wrong side of the vote. They were weakened. Their advantages are out of the game. I think, at least the extra vote got played. Jamie's fake idol went out of the game. She had a bad read on the situation. She didn't ask Kane to play the idol on him or her. And as far as they knew, that was a real idol. So that just tells me they had a bad read on the situation. So since it was never played, I'm going to give my worst to Jamie.
Can I ask a thought-provoking question on that? Because I think even though Ratu is down, her fake idol being gone is a blessing in disguise.
Yes.
So can that maybe put Lauren below Jamie? Because at least Jamie has truthful, usable information about her own game going forward.
Well, I think, the extra vote was played. Fake idol's gone. I think this is good for both of them. I don't think either of them are going next. It definitely takes the target off both their backs. I think they're since the hardware is gone, there's no real reason to target them. So I think they're going to be fine next week. This was still a bad episode for them.
Sure.
Because it didn't go their way. And they wasted their hardware, basically.
Sure.
But now the target is smaller, so silver lining.
Well, Lauren wasted her hardware, and Jamie accidentally shed fake hardware that could have been very damaging to her game.
Yes, but perception is reality. Everyone believes that was a real idol, including Jamie, and there's no one left to dispute that in the game.
Oh, that's weird for me to think about. So, people in the game would say that maybe Jamie had the worst, round of Survivor.
She lost her idol.
But out here in the real world,
we know the truth.
Lauren probably had the worst.
But we're gonna get, let's say Jamie gets the final tribal council. We can talk about that.
Yeah,
and everyone will just believe that's a real idol.
Yeah, because who planted it? Matthew, right?
And Matthew,
he's not on the jury.
So unless production lets it slip to Kane, no, where it was a fake idol.
Yeah,
which they have done. Who did they do that with? They did that with Matt this season. When he voted out, they did tell him he had a fake idol. So I'm hoping production keeps their mouth shut.
Yeah, that's rough. You shouldn't. Man. Yep. I don't believe that these juries need to be sequestered, but you can't have that kind of thing happen.
You can't be telling them that. So I'm hoping that Kane is not informed of that because I think that's fun. We'll see.
The less they know, the better.
Exactly. All right, so let's get into who is going next, down to the final 8. I think that everyone is going to turn on the Three Stooges alliance next, and we're going to lose one of these 3 because you can't keep letting Tika do this. They can't keep getting away with it. So I think they will target the biggest personality threat-wise. I think that's Jam Jam. So I think he's gone.
Jam Jam. Okay. I landed on Danny, and I think it's going to be more for physical prowess. I know that he hasn't done much in individual immunity challenges yet, but it's still a target.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I don't trust Ratu to do the smart thing and go and work with Sokka. I feel like they're going to work with Tika again because, Tika's at least voted with him once, and Jamie is already an incredibly paranoid individual. I can see Jamie going home just for being wicked paranoid and people being like, I don't want to play with that. But I landed on Danny.
Okay.
It should probably be Franny or Jam Jam. I agree with that.
All right, so let's get into who can't win. There's 2 people on the board who cannot win this game. I really have no clue who they are. You can go edit wise, and you can go like on the island. How do they see the game wise? The latter, I have no clue, but we still have to figure this out anyway. I just want to point out, just put it out there that this is a shot in the dark.
Yes, we are taking many shots in the dark,
and maybe this is a good thing because last season we were pretty confident Gabler couldn't win.
We'll never let ourselves live that down.
But to be fair, I like to listen to the Survivor podcasts, like Rob Cesternino's, after the season is over, because I think it's funny to listen to their predictions and see if they were right or wrong. Everyone else is saying Gabriel probably couldn't win either.
It wasn't until the lead up to that finale week where people were starting to come out with this is how Gabler wins discussions, and it almost felt like a meme.
Yep.
Where it was, we're just all putting out our bold predictions.
This is how Bernie Sanders can still win the election.
Yeah,
kind of
right. Stuff like that, yeah. Oh.
All right, Derek, start us off. Who are the two people who cannot win this game?
So at the top of the podcast, or near the top of the podcast, I teased whether or not one certain person whose name starts with C would be remaining on this list or wouldn't. Carson, exactly. But for the other person, I will for sure just say Jamie stays on this list. I think this episode further proves that she is overly paranoid and doesn't really have a lot of strategic chops and isn't making a lot of her own decisions. That's no bad juju on Jamie. She seems like a wonderful person, but I don't think she's going to win this game. For the other one, I'm leaving Carolyn on the list, surprisingly. We got that fantastic moment. We got that great moment. But for me, once you're on this list, you need to show me why you're off this list. And Jam Jam got his way again. And as of right now, if they were to go to finals, Jam Jam says, I got my way, and everyone who voted for me went home. I was actually a target. No one ever targeted Carolyn. And we've seen that type of game, Gavin, lose before to winners who even themselves admit that game was a little bit fluky.
Yes.
So that's why I keep Carolyn on the list tonight.
So I had Carolyn and Heidi there last week. I'm subbing out both of them.
My goodness, dude. Make up your dang mind.
So I'd like to go based off of how I think the people on the island are perceived by the people on the island, not so much the edit. I am having the most difficult time doing that this season because I cannot get a read. There's like nobody people dislike. The last person was like Josh. So, maybe Danny. But even that, I feel like, is really reading between the lines.
Yeah, it still is.
I'm not going to go that way. I'm kind of mad about it. I'm going to go edit-wise. I'm just going to say Jamie and Lauren.
And Lauren is my second off. I do have Danny as my first off, just because I don't think that he's going to make it to the end. And if he does, again, we already talked about the social stuff enough tonight.
Yeah, it's just based off of, it seems like everybody on the season is very nice.
I like it when everyone's a wonderful person. That way we can have protags and antagonists. We don't necessarily need like true blue heroes and like dark evil villains and stuff like that.
I could go for a dark evil villain though.
I could. I want a likable villain.
Yeah, let's get like a fair play or something on the season or something. Something like that. I don't know. Someone who's just like kind of slimy. I miss that.
Gameplay doesn't really allow for that kind of stuff right now either, though.
All right. Well, last thing I'm going to talk about is the Survivor pool, which Derek has no involvement in. I don't remember who Josh had. I know he had Franny, but I don't remember who Josh had left. I think he's only got one person left. I only have one person left. So my default pick is Carson. So because I picked everyone else who's still alive. I had not picked Kane, but Kane's gone now. So I have to pick Carson going in the next episode. I feel like Josh is... I want to say it's Heidi. I could be totally wrong about that. So I'm not going to say for sure. Josh will tweet his stuff out later on.
Well, if it is in fact Heidi, then he's sitting in a pretty good spot with an idol.
So I could be in trouble with Carson.
So it's either a tie or you lose.
Pretty much, unless Heidi gets blindsided.
Yeah, it has happened.
So I don't think that'll happen.
I don't think it'll happen either.
All right, Dirk, social media.
Yeah, as always, you can come visit us over on Twitter. That's where we're probably the most active post-wise, but we post our rank downs on Instagram, on Facebook. My name is Castaway Pod Derek on Reddit. I do lurk sometimes. I do post a few things. TikTok is Castaway Consultants. Over on Spotify on this episode, if that's where you're listening, interact with our Q&As and our polls. Last week, again, people agreed with us. There's probably some audience bias there that the correct person did, in fact, go home. So that was a pretty fun to get that validation and that confirmation from you guys that, hopefully there's a group of people out there that sees the game like we do, and it's all our fault.
Yep. So follow us on all that stuff. Yeah, Derek, anything else?
Yeah, the only other fun little thing of note, and this is something Ryan doesn't care about, but we had our biggest week of all time with the podcast this last week, which came out of nowhere.
I care about that.
So,
well, love to see it. I just don't follow it.
Yeah.
I never check the numbers.
You're right. So we had our biggest week ever, and weirdly enough, we had our biggest day of all time on a day where we didn't release an episode. Weird. So I think the algo picked us up because of you lovely people and spread us out to a few more people, so thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it a lot. All right, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.
Good night.